Special good morning to our listeners and viewers. Welcome to another edition of To The Point. Today being Monday, it's the 4th day of September. Yeah, we're in a brand new month. And it's our first program, I should say, for the month of September. And once again, good morning to one and all. And welcome back. Our viewers this morning via GBN TV, or those of you also viewing via our, of course, YouTube channel. Good morning. Not sure if we're back via the Facebook as yet. Via the Facebook page, I am not 100% sure. I'll check as the program go along. And those of you listening, Classic Radio, good morning. Whether you're listening on 105.5 or 105.9, good Monday morning. Welcome back to another edition of To The Point. Let me say good morning to Sylvan. Sylvan, good morning and welcome, sir. How are you doing?
Yeah, good morning to you, GT. Pleasant. I am good. I'm blessed. And
I know last week you had a little issue, but I think that recuperated now. I think you're back up and running.
I'm beginning to feel the improvement.
All right, good.
I had a little bit for it, and I rest a lot.
All right.
Flat on my back, relax. I haven't had the chance, or I have not taken the time to go swimming as yet.
Okay,
I think I'll do that this week because
that will certainly help. That will certainly help a whole lot. That will certainly help the improvement a whole lot.
Yes.
So we're ready for today's program. Last week we spent a lot of time, talking about the mitigating factors in terms of going back to school, youngsters, and today is actually the day when lots of youngsters are heading back to school.
Yeah.
You understand? The majority of the schools are reopening. I have to reopen today, and I had my little bit of issues this morning, dropping my kids off to my children. I have to get the kids out of my mind, but my children after school this morning, the traffic. I don't know when that's going to get together. It was like I was losing my patience this morning.
You were?
I was losing my patience this morning because I understand, but I think it's time to have folks could get it together in terms of how the process goes. We get them back to school. They know things we have to do, and sometimes you see folks, some parents, they kind of sloppy still. And not like, we're not saying it's like folks are doing it for the first time, but there are folks who it's recurring individuals who have been taking their children to school before, so how things run.
Yes.
How the things run. So, you could just do it and get it over with. And some folks were just there lingering, man. And I was looking, I gotta get to work.
Yeah.
It's like 8:30 and I leave yet.
Yes.
You understand? I was like, oh man. Anyway.
So although the GBN is our lead information entity media house in Grenada, we're hoping, and it would have been nice for other entities to take a cue from the information that we were sharing.
Yes.
In terms of preparing parents and society for the back to school.
Yeah.
And we try to capture the risk that could be associated with returning to school and how people can mitigate them.
Yep.
And before we really expand where we started, or we started last week, before we continue on it a little bit, I think praises and commendations are in place for the traffic department and for those who are trying to make some of the road signs a bit more conspicuous.
Yes.
And I did see some efforts were made in highlighting some of the signs and the markings, road markings.
Yeah, those pedestrian crossings.
As I drove around, some of the pedestrian crossings were remarked and repainted, which is a good sign. I don't know how much information we heard on the media houses around in terms of preparing and, reminding people. Even the police department themselves, the information unit, I'm not too sure how much they did, rebroadcast or created information that would remind parents and students of coming into an unfamiliar environment. And for road users in general, the mere fact that the traffic situation will be changed, how they prepared them for that. And the whole aspect of it too, we're hoping that more scientists would intervene in preparing people's minds and their structure for dealing with situations. Over the weekend, again, as we normally would do, there was an accident involving a government minister.
Yes, I heard of it. I heard about it. I didn't much details about it, but I heard of it.
And GBN did highlight that as one of the news clippings this morning as well. And it shows that no person is, immune against accidents and incidences. And one of the factors that came out certainly for me is the support that the children or the victim and the other person involved, which would be the minister, the driver of the vehicle himself. And he would be put under extreme pressure as a government minister, as a community person, and so forth. People will take the angle to either send slurs or otherwise, and other people will empathize. And so the psychosocial intervention is critical. And even as a minister of government himself, I would hope that he would see that he would need some form of counseling, as slight or mild as he may think it might be. But he would need some therapy from someone who is a specialist to speak to him and, help him to go through the process. It may seem small. And the child, even if there isn't obvious physical injuries, extensive or otherwise, but the psychological impact it could have on the child. And if you look at the video, you could have seen the shock reaction from the child immediately after the accident, how he was responding to it. So my point is, our society requires a lot of these psychosocial intervention and the therapy and the debriefing and the counseling that people should get after incidences. And sometimes we treat them very lightly. And it really does not have to take the experts from social services or otherwise. We can expand on preparing other people within the society to deal with it, family members, etc. But those who are aware and persons who hold particular positions as well must be aware that the people around them would also need that and encourage them to get it. So I thought I needed to expand on that a little bit so that our minister can get parliamentarians, and so they can get those kind of psychosocial help and intervention that they too can focus on the national duties, and they should not be distracted or derailed because of an incident that might have happened.
Yes, it depends on your status within society. You're human too.
That's correct.
You understand, and sometimes it could affect you some way or the other. Sometimes individuals may not always show it in the physical way for you to see it, but sometimes that mental, feedback is also is sometimes it can tear you up inside.
Absolutely.
It can tear you up inside, and you need that assistance. And I certainly hope the Honourable Minister would try to get that help. And just like it's a sense of healing for himself.
Yes.
All right.
And the other issue, we kind of do fact finding and test our information outside as to how people respond to us. I do personally as well, and people would come and say, "Oh, good program," and they would also speak about something that they think that we should speak about. And one of the topical issue that could also impact on even the traffic situation. You speak about parents understanding how they should deal with their children, the drop-off, the pickups, preparing them, etc., and so forth. But number one was the roadside garages.
Yeah.
A few persons, again, continue to speak about that.
Seems to be a little bit of an ill with people, how they feel about that over the years.
Yeah. It's a soaring issue. And we commend the authority for the removal of derelicts.
I've seen a bit of a slowdown in it for a wee bit, though. I've noticed a bit of a slowdown in terms of...
There was a momentum and then it slowed a bit.
Down for a wee bit.
We have not seen or not hearing a lot about it. That was one side.
And you know how things happen in Grenada. Once things slow down, it starts to reoccur again. Huh?
That's correct. No, you're right. Oh, and remind me, I will be coming with another one. So yes, the issue of the roadside garages is a soaring issue. I mentioned it again on previous programs that it creates a set of road rage for people when you have to face those obstructions to deal with, swing away from people and the attitudes from others. It really sometimes could change your attitude and your behavior on the road. Some things that are obstruction and hindrances, if they're not addressed, they can impede on people's judgment and their actions. Now, in dealing with some situation on the road and in preparing for the road, I came up with something called MAD. Mad. Yeah.
And that's basically a definition of something.
Yes.
Abbreviated for...
Yes. And I did. in preparation for the road, I did that, speaking that as, I think I mentioned that before, on a program with the Grenada Postal Authority.
Okay.
And they asked me to speak at that road safety thing that they were having. And I addressed this, and I said, MAD. People preparing for the road. What am I mad about? But the M is for your mindset. What kind of a mindset are you creating and generating for getting on the road? And the A is for the attitude and sometimes the altitude. What kind of attitude are you going with to face school, to face the public and everything else? Am I in the right state of mind to deal with the things that is before me today? So I'm thinking about that. And when you speak about the attitude or altitude, where do I want to go? Do I want to be at the same level that I was yesterday, or I am thinking of getting somewhere further into the I'm focusing? And the destination, it speaks of, so where am I intending to go? What am I getting there or should get there for? And how prepared am I to do that? So we look at MAD, somebody just take that little money and you go with it and say, MAD, your mindset. What am I, should I be mad? But I'm saying, is my mindset okay? Is my attitude ready for what I intended to do? And is my destination achievable within the time that I want to do it? Did I give myself enough preparation time?
So that's where that mental preparation comes in.
Mental preparation comes in. And the final thing, as you speak about reoccurring issue, again, kudos to Ministry of Implementation,
yes,
and the physical implementation, the visible environmental implementation in terms of trying to beautify and the flowers. I remember you speaking about Gary's era when they planted flowers and things around Grenada, and we've seen those kind of attitude which is encouraged really in terms of beautifying Grenada. And we wish that more people can take personal responsibility for ensuring that Grenada is beautified. But in terms of reoccurring situation, and we must be police of the environment ourselves as individuals, not just as police officers or prison officers or customs and immigration, etc. But every citizen must consider himself an enforcement of what makes us comfortable and happy.
Yes.
And we look at the Lagoon, there is a lot that has been done and much more that could be done to enhance it. And so I also think there should be more consultations and a forum where people can give their ideas and their advices as to some things that could look more environmentally friendly, things that look more within that environment. So sometimes the massive culverts and concrete don't always fit within particular environment and so forth. But as I drove through the Kirani James Boulevard, I observed within the last maybe about 6 weeks, and that was certainly before Carnival, there was an old fridge with a crate, and it's something that is rebuilt, and someone is hustling from that side, close to one of the jetties going on to that side. My point is...
But that was cleaned up a couple of months ago.
It was cleaned up a couple of months ago, and this situation reoccurred. But my point is, I don't think we are sharp enough to realize that it is creeping back slowly.
But I did notice, like, after Carnival, I did see the Minister of Implementation himself, and so there were some trucks for folks who were permitted, who gave permission to build those little booths and stuff for the Carnival, and they were cleaning up.
Yes.
You understand? So I didn't pay attention to what you mentioned you saw.
There's still some of this stuff hanging around, and I'm saying that we have to be more aggressive in ensuring that we don't allow these things to fester. And while people would say that everybody needs to eat a food, you cannot eat a food at an environmental disadvantage and at the disadvantage of a lot of other people. You have to eat the food within context. And so, yes, while whoever it is trying to do a hustle on the lagoon or Kirani James Boulevard, it has to be done within context. It has to be done within a particular framework. And as we move around Grenada, the things that we removed and we decide to enhance, they must not be allowed to creep in. And that has its implication for what we speak about in terms of managing and mitigating your risk.
Yes.
These things can create environmental risk that generate fuss to the eye, because healing emotionally and otherwise comes through sometimes your vision. And it helps you to internalize and generate feeling. So when your environment is created in a particular way, it makes you depressed, or it can make you happy, or it can make you upbeat based on what is around you. So when you drive around and you can see the flowers and the things that make you comfortable, your mind is soothed and you begin to feel a sense of, and you can achieve more. So it has a lot more advantage and disadvantage in terms of having an environment where everybody feels comfortable to be in. And I'm saying that when we make it unsightly, when people decide to dump, again, you can pass and see where that old garbage dump was on Liquor and James Boulevard. People are still putting things there. But how quickly are we addressing that?
Yeah.
Are we putting cameras in places to say that we would want to catch people who are dumping illegally and putting things out so that we can catch them? We have to move with the time. Are we saying that on our streets where people are exceeding the speed limits and not obeying them on traffic signs, are we going to say that we're going to implement cameras and other things of that nature?
I would say too, Sylvan, it's a constant bombarding of information that is needed.
Yeah.
Sometimes things are said for a period of time and then it stops.
You're right.
But I think if the information is constantly being bombarded an individual, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, I think it will get to a stage where it has sunk into you so much that you start to exercise or practice whatever you've been hearing for a period of time.
Right.
You understand? But when you do it for a couple of just a day or two and you stop, and then you don't do it for another 6 or 7 months, you know what happens? Folks will just go back to the old way. Because sometimes people need to hear things repeatedly.
Yes.
Some individuals need to hear stuff repeatedly in order for them to start practicing what they've been hearing.
And this is why we want people to count on the GBN for that kind of a bombarding and putting the information in your face, so to speak, locally. And this is what I'm sure you and I will be doing on our programs on Mondays. Certainly we'll be highlighting the issues, and we would get the criticism, we'll get the commendations and the criticism, but we don't mind. But I think what we're doing here to a large extent is benefiting Grenada, and we want to continue to do that, and we would want to see Grenada become more beautiful for every one of us. As we move towards 50, we want to look back at the footsteps and the path that we came through and what we need to do for another 50 and beyond. And so it doesn't the accomplishment of 1,000 miles or otherwise, it only starts with the first step, so we want to, and not just the first step, but it has to be continuous steps. And as you were saying, the things that we've spoken about, the things that we want to see addressed, we don't want to be just like being an Adventist is good 7 days. So we don't want to speak about things for 7 days and then
you move on and then you move on to something else. What was said previously gets just faded off.
That's correct.
It doesn't come back. But sometimes, as I said, constantly repeating something so that helps to have it sunk in a wee bit.
And the psychologist will also tell you what impact that would have.
Exactly. So we'll be due for a break. When we come back, something I want us to spend a little bit of time is, we did mention in the initial stages, that mental preparation, especially for parents getting their youngsters back to school this morning. A lot of folks maybe not have been mentally prepared for it yet. Yeah. Even though they had at least 2 months to get themselves together, they had a weekend.
They didn't realize that school was reopening on the 4th.
That mental preparation. I'm sure you may have some ideas in terms of how individuals who may not be doing it today, but they're probably going to say, hey, I'm not going to bring my son or daughter back to school today. The individuals who do that. Yes. But I may start them tomorrow or maybe on Wednesday. So they still need that mental preparation. Probably could give them some highlights when we come back to the table.
And in terms of reminding people, lest we forget, we want to say again the 7th is Hurricane Ivan's anniversary.
Yes.
So we're gonna chime in a little bit on that. Repeating things has this impact.
Yeah. We'll be coming right back, folks. Stay with us. It's To The Point.
Carelessly, I was tossed out. I was considered trash. And many thought that's all I'd ever be. Some told me to give up, go back to the landfill, so that I could take 450 years to decompose. No, I dream of a different life, of being part of something better, stronger, and more purposeful.
If given a chance, your plastic would choose to be put to more beneficial use. Choose recycling.
The NLA is giving you more chances to multiply your Playway winnings by adding Multi-X to your regular Playway bets to win up to 5 times more. Imagine winning as much as $1,200 instead of $240 with a $10 Playway bet by simply adding Multi-X. Place your Playway bets from $1 to $10 or in increments on your favorite Playway symbols or numbers. Then add the Multi-X option at the same value to win 2 times, 3 times, 5 times more, or free plays. With Multi-X, you must bet the same amount wagered on your regular Playway bets for your winnings to be multiplied. Grenadians, value your dreams and win your way as much as 5 times more with Multi-X added to Playway and watch your money grow. Must be 18 years or older to play. NLA, making your dreams come true.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers. It's still a point for today, Monday, the 4th day of September within the year 2023. Myself, together with Mr. Sylvan McIntyre, we're talking this morning, and we continue to talk about preparedness. And as I said, Sylvan, before the break, mental preparedness, especially for parents. I want us to focus a wee bit on that. Maybe you can actually throw some highlights, some information that parents could prepare themselves mentally, especially with going back to school.
Yes.
We're heading back, but sometimes there's that part of us that's not ready for what we're going to experience in terms of children's behavior when they're going to back. Some children, maybe for the first time, may not want to go to school today. Yes. You understand? Or when they get there, they cry, especially the toddlers, maybe crying and stuff because maybe the first time they're going to school. It could be a youngster who maybe at a certain age, but somehow throws out a tantrum.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
That mental preparedness in terms of how parents should handle that process of going back to school. Maybe you could throw some information.
Oh, definitely. So let me put you on the spot and other listeners and viewers and followers. How does Carnival season impact mentally or emotionally on the preparedness for back to school?
How does Carnival?
Yeah. What's your reaction to that? What's your response to that?
How does Carnival impact my preparedness for getting back to school?
Yeah.
When you say impact, I'm thinking I still a little miss with it.
Yeah, well, Carnival. Remember, Carnival is a break. Mm-hmm. It comes after children break they go on vacation, and then you have the build up into Carnival.
Yes.
Right. And you have the preparation for Carnival. And then
you prepare for Carnival.
You prepare for Carnival.
Yeah.
And then you have the after Carnival, what happens between the 16th, let's say, for this year, and the 4th of September. A parent being an active participant in Carnival affairs or otherwise, and the society program and puts itself in a particular atmosphere during Carnival. Does that have any kind of impact on parents and societal readiness for going back to school?
I would say so to a point. To a point, it will have an impact.
Okay.
Because now, most parents, I'm not saying all, but the parents will prepare themselves if they are active participant in Carnival.
Yes.
They prepare for the shows, whatever events are coming up. They may like to play their Juve, so they prepare themselves for that. Maybe since it's Sunday night, they know what they'll be doing Tuesday morning. I think people have an idea where we're going. Go ahead.
You
understand?
Yes.
So now, the Carnival is over.
Yeah.
Now you have to have a different frame of mind.
Mindset.
Different mindset.
Yeah.
Have I gotten what my children need for school?
Yeah.
You understand? I have taken care of that. No, I'm thinking now, have I been talking to my children?
Okay.
In a particular way, preparing their mind now, getting them away from the gadgets and stuff, changing their whole frame of mind for going back to school. Now they have to start focusing. If I was permitting them to look at television for 8 hours a day, because I think, just a way of getting, not to distract them from everything else. Let them look at the television. No, I have to get them into the mood of not studying the television anymore.
Okay, good.
Not playing with the games or the tablets anymore of senseless things that is not relevant for educating themselves to our point. Through the holiday season, you allow them to do things that is a little off the norm. You understand? So now school is going to reopen. Have I been getting my children's minds more focused back now on what is relevant for school.
Absolutely.
Am I going in the direction you want?
Yes, man, you're going in the direction I really want you to. You run the program on your own. But so the point I was trying to make here is that mental preparedness or readiness for any situation does not happen just before the thing is intended to be implemented.
There's a build-up.
There has to be a build-up.
Okay.
And so the point I wanted to make or drive home in terms of mental readiness for back to school is a process, and it runs over a period of time. It has to be organized where parents and people have to know what time it is, and schedules are critical. I want to back up a little bit. Just yesterday evening, one of my colleagues, my good friend, he was telling another friend, and they made a laugh out of it, that the kids over the holiday, or the children over the holiday season, they were exposed more to the gadgets and the tablet. And they had it controlled in a particular place and the access to it. And he was saying to the friend, I did not capture too well, but they made a big laugh of it, that the children went to the tablets, they kissed them, and said goodbye. Yesterday. Do you know what that meant actually? That's here what? The focus now is back to school. The freedom and the access that we had to the gadgets, they are going to be controlled. And this says a lot to me in terms of parental control and systems and structure, how you do that. Now, obviously, the vacation, you have to streamline it and cut it up in small segments. Children must be children, and they have to be allowed to be children, and they should be allowed to participate in children's thing.
Yes.
They have to be guided, and they must know what is adult things and adult contents, adult locations and activities, and so parents have to balance that. Financing and resources is something that needs an entire planning process. And this is why I think I saw and heard about the debushing program and other program that comes around this time, early, July, August. So they say people will get some change in their pocket or otherwise in preparation for
school,
returning to school.
Reopening of school.
But is that money or that resource that is supposed to be generated around the time, is it balanced and budgeted, directed towards school?
Or is it be used for that particular?
Or is it used for that particular? Or because it's carnival and we need to get the better costume, we need to have the types of drinks and go to the activities and so on, is that money really spent on that? The point I'm trying to make here that mental preparedness for going back to school starts from the last day that school shut. And that process must be streamlined into segments as to what we're going to do with the resources and how we're going to prepare our children. And so this gentleman saying here that the children understood that they were going back to school. The gadgets or the tablets that they were exposed to, they're no longer going to have. They kissed and said goodbye. It is so sentimental in that kind of a way that it really registered home that they're saying, I am seeing structure within that family setting, and I'm seeing that the children or the child understood what the day was, because they were guided with that and saying you've had access a bit more during the vacation time. I don't know if the day before school reopen is the best time or a couple of days, but as I'm speaking about structure, it should not be a sudden throw on their chest. It has to be your children, you understand that school is going to be. You start looking at the books, the uniforms, and the bags and what they require for school down the road. So it's not just the week before school reopen. That has to take place before. And as a matter of fact, I know families, as soon as the carnival season is over, as soon as school break, they start trying to put things together in the pieces and make sure that the children are ready.
I like to call it a different distraction.
A different kind of, well, okay. So if you put yourself in that state of mind and you practice yourself or program yourself to work in that kind of way, there is less pressure. You're more mentally prepared. You can spend more time with the children because things are organized. A disorganized system creates apprehension, nervousness, and otherwise. If you have an organized system and you have knowledge, it breeds confidence and comfort, and there is less anxiety, and so the process of retention is easier because you're using up less adrenaline and all the different kind of enzymes that will be running through your body and all of that. They'll be a bit more calm, and when you're calm, you make better decisions. And one way to help that is to be prepared. So in answering your question in terms of how parents can mentally prepare themselves and their children, it has to be a streamline, it has to be a structure, it has to be a process. You must break it up in small phases as to what you want to do at each stage. So the last couple of days getting into school, the sleep pattern, the sleep time, and again, this is a massive subject. Within a family, as I said, there has to be the opportunity for children to do what children should do.
Yep.
Children should not be allowed to run the household. And if you allow a child from an infant coming through to get their own way, trust me, that's what they will do.
Someone may take it to task for that, but when you say children are allowed to run the household,
Yeah, I want them to take me to task. Children must be children, and they must understand structure. And if there is none, they will put one for you.
Yeah.
And they will give you one.
I understand what you're saying about it, because sometimes school is on vacation, so parents may, your son or daughter may say, Daddy or Mommy, I'm not ready to sleep yet. If usually when school time they will go to bed maybe since 7 o'clock.
Right.
And now they go to bed at 10 p.m.
Yeah, that's
11
cool,
at time. So you put it on that kind of context where they run in the household for you. They're telling you when they want to go to sleep. Yeah.
No, they should not. You should tell them.
I understand.
But you know what? A lot of time, parents do not sit and hold meaningful negotiations with children, a conversation. And sometimes you hear a parent would say, no negotiation on this. And that's absolutely right. That's fine. There are things where there is zero tolerance, that you set it. It's hard and fast. Yeah. You go with it because you understand. But there are other things that children should be allowed to make their own input, have a conversation with them.
They will ask you, why are you telling me to do that?
That's correct.
And you should be able to have a response and tell them why I'm telling you to do that.
Absolutely. So you don't want to be a dictator to children because you're a parent. You dictate everything. No. Mm-hmm. You build better relationship in holding discussion. I remember one time somebody was saying, but you and your daughter behave just like brother and sister, like friends. Oh yeah, we do. Yeah. Because we have the conversation. But when
there are boundaries.
Yeah,
there's still there are boundaries.
When you step forward and say, no, that is not happening. We're not doing this at this time. It stays. Yep. And that's what it is. So to build good family relationship, there has to be this open forum and this understanding. So parents must set the parameters and the boundaries. And I know a lot of families who do that, where normal times, your bedtime is 8 o'clock because you have to be prepared mentally, the body needs enough rest, and the system needs to recuperate for school the next day. During the summer at break time, we allow you the laxity. But now it is coming to returning to school. So you're not telling me on the Sunday night before Monday that tomorrow night you're going to bed. Start saying, we are preparing, school is going to be opening.
That should have been taking place a week ago.
Yes, man.
So sometime last week, you should getting that different trend, or that different trend that you want them to take. That should be start implementing that. Hey, let's we be listening to television. We listening the time you be up playing and so forth, the outside playing and stuff like that. Not that you're cutting it out entirely, but you're showing that you're setting a stage for where we're going at.
And when you do that, you'll have a more comfortable child. The learning environment, the relationship between parent, child, that will definitely be enhanced. And too often, parents figure that because I'm the adult, I'm the parent, that everything that I say, as I say, goes. It is better. The psychologists, the parental guiders, and intellects will tell you that it is always more beneficial to have dialogues with your children, explain to them why certain actions are taken, why certain things are done or not done, and they will understand and digest it better, rather than you tending to just dictate everything. And if you create a dictating environment within your family, you're building other little dictators for down the street.
Folks will sometimes raise a comparison of how we were brought up back then to now. And folks will say, yes, our parents were more strict back then. Had it made a difference for us in terms of for us as how we are as adults now, in comparison to how we are allowing our children to grow to come up now? We may be less strict, but the format in terms of we may be applying now, it may be making them better individuals themselves too. Yeah. Would you agree with me with that?
Yeah, I do. But it doesn't mean if you are flexible that you're not strict. It just means that there's a different way of implementing your strictness. And so people have to understand, even like in law enforcement, there is the community policing initiative that the RGPF would implement, and there's other regional entities that do that. Law enforcement is not just about putting the handcuffs and charging people for offenses, but having good discussions with members of the community, asking them about things within the community, you will be surprised the amount of contributions you get from people. And in a way, you get more law-abiding citizens when they feel that, no, the police is human being, he can speak.
Yes.
We can have a conversation other than you coming and tell me, don't smoke a spliff, or don't do this or don't do that. The police could have a normal conversation.
Another civil conversation with you.
They could make jokes as well,
exactly.
too.
You know,
and so that builds, and then that person now feels less threatened by police and feels more committed to be law-abiding.
And able to communicate with police in a more amicable way. The police were able to talk to you as a Sylvanian in a more amicable stuff like that. That would certainly help to share information.
You mean with us or
with us?
A different thing? Maybe with us?
Maybe that's one of these morning. You probably can have somebody.
I think early now into the...
Join the party. Experience cricket played louder.
Grenada's broadcast of Republic Bank CPL 2023 is made possible by Republic Bank. We're the one for you. The National Lotteries Authority, Grenlec, and Hard On Plus.
Cricket fans, here's your opportunity to win 2 tickets to the Republic Bank CPL Final in Guyana, inclusive of airfare and hotel accommodation in the TV6 Republic Bank CPL Trivia Contest. There are also weekly prizes of tickets to the Republic Bank CPL matches and branded merchandise from TV6 and the Caribbean Premier League. To enter, simply download the TV6 app from the Google or Apple Store. Click on the TV6 RBL CPL Contest tab, answer the weekly trivia question, and submit your electronic entry form. It's that easy. So what are you waiting for? Download the TV6 app to be a winner.
Welcome back, viewers. Welcome back, listeners. It's To The Point here on the Classic Radio and the GBN TV. Myself and Mr. Sylvan McIntyre with you this morning. And the conversation seems to be of an open nature this morning.
Almost.
We're not sticking on a particular topic line that much this morning. But let's entertain our caller this morning, see what he has to offer. Caller, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you? GT and Mr. McIntyre.
Sir.
Good morning.
Right. Well, I want to make a little contribution, but I want to set my bearing. I started with... let's say the people in the diaspora, going right to the school thing, but just explain it. The people in the diaspora, as Grenadians, I recognize them and horticulture are the backbone of Grenada, and then tourism. Number one, because they're doing a lot of stuff with the just quickly, the Western Union support, MoneyGram, the barrel, other aids and things. But what I look at in this school, as you're always talking about the school system, what I look at now, with the spending at Carnival, and that's my own little survey or whatever it is, the people in the diaspora that come in here for Carnival, most of them coming here for Carnival right now, what I see is they're supporting a lot of the Carnival activities. They bring in school supply one time for the friends and family relatives here. They are supporting most of the funding for some of the people going to the events. They are also doing things like taking on parties for their friends and all these things. And I even there's one gentleman that did a whole thing with party for his son. He bringing things, he bringing even all the supplies they want. And he even recognized and asked his people to find some needed child that have some parents and all these kind of thing problem that need adoption, and did that. So they're doing a lot of things, and even back to some of the responsibility parents will have for getting children back to school for books and a lot of stuff. They're taking on a lot of that when they're coming in for Carnival. So there's a lot of assistance coming from them, and we have to recognize that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, caller. I think I get the direction the caller is going at today in terms of the mental preparation.
Yes.
As we were speaking about. He's actually stating that when individuals or family members from the overseas come, they're taking away some of the responsibilities that folks, our parents who are here locally, they take out that responsibility for them, so they could probably free up themselves more, during the carnival activities and not worry much because those things have been taken care of.
Yes.
To a point.
So on that note, we must recognize their contribution a bit more, and we must create sometimes a more user-friendly atmosphere for them to be able to make those societal contributions.
Right. That's understandable. Let's go to the phone. Caller, good morning. Welcome, sir.
Good morning. I have a firm belief that education...
Caller, before you continue, please, would you mind lowering your radio, please? Or television in the background?
No. Reasonably low.
Well, I would recommend that you turn it down or turn it off completely because there is a feedback.
Let me continue. I think that education begins in the belly, in the womb. And according to what I wanted to say the parents, so let's say the mother does, the belly reacts to the emotion of the lady, or perhaps the emotion of the outside world. So when we're talking about educating people, we have to start quite inside the belly. I don't know how they go do that, but your emotion means a lot. I don't know you mean. So Mr. Sylvan could tell you, you hear people say, ban you have bad blood. I don't know if when you're inside the belly, the blood doesn't become pure. It depends on your temperament or how you react. And I'm not a psychologist, and I don't have no qualification to say where it begins. Now, we only talking about the outside education in the school. If a child, the education in the school does not continue in the home, or the education in the home doesn't continue in the school, we're likely to have problems. In other words, if the discipline perhaps in the school, I'm not saying you don't have good teachers, but if it's not good in the school, you don't expect the children to go into the home and behave good. If it's not good at home, you don't expect. So they all are tied in. And as Mr. Sylvan will say, if you give them too much carbohydrate, they might be heated and transferred. So you must have a balanced diet so that the system should be real balanced. So we are complaining about the children. We see things now. We live in, as they say, in a modern world. You could hardly hide things from children nowadays. What you have to do is to train them. I don't even know what you mean by train. In other words, condition them to the ways of healthy living. When I talk about healthy, I don't mean in food, It could be how to respond to different situations. I at one time used to have 2 nephews living with me. And if they intend to do anything wrong, they watch me. Well, it used to be in a school. And you will see them, if they're doing it wrong, they just walk out. And people would understand. I communicate to them with my eyes, and they communicate to me with their eyes too. So once you train your children good, you don't expect them to leave your home and go and behave bad. But some of us tell our children, if he hit you back, hit him. Don't tell the teacher, because the teacher no good, it is no good. And I could go on and go on. So we are commenting. But what bothers me now, Mr. Sylvan, I don't think he was suited where he was, He's suited to educate the public, in Grenada. So you took a wrong occupation. Sorry for telling you that. Because you do good, So keep up the good works. Thank you very much. I have much more to say, but it's limited.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much. 435-2041. We're moving up just around 12 minutes or so before the top of the hour this morning. The caller did have a lot to say.
Say again?
I said the caller did have a lot to say.
Had a lot to say.
He had a lot to say. I mean, it was kind of in between of you, but you have to kind of suck out what he was really, the direction he was going at, which I think I understand.
And I think he mentioned something in terms of I don't think we actually criticizing children. I think we're giving tips for children and parents to be able to mitigate particular risk. And one of the stronger points he made is that of starting early. And we did mention that even within the womb, where fetus or zygotes are formed, that the whole intervention emotionally, it has a lot to do in how a child can become later on. Psychologists would tell you that, and even the religious would also tell you that if you lay hands on the tummy and you pray the child through, on average, I know for sure I've heard it.
You believe in that, right?
I do believe that has its impact, because
I have my reservations about it. I don't know, but I have a different view about it.
This is not GBN's opinion. This is mine, and what you have would be yours, and it is well respected. But I do believe in prayer as well, and I think it has its positive implication.
All right, let's take another caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for hosting, guest. I hope it's not outside of what your topic is for today. But my question, comment is, do you have any suggestion, any professional recommendation on what the best practice is with regard to pedestrian on private 11, that is walking the streets, navigating our streets and local roads? Is it better to walk with the flow of traffic or against the flow of traffic? And I think that's something that I think will be very informative for, especially, not just especially, but especially now with kids going back to school and with the backpacks, and sometimes they taunting one another in a friendly way or not too friendly way, and they may find themselves sort of stepping towards the street in the line of traffic. And for folks who whether elderly or not, but who have had a stroke and walk with impaired gait and so on. So I'd like to get some information, especially given your strong background, and what's the best practice for navigating our local streets. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much.
That's a really good question, pointing exactly to some of the areas that we intend to touch. And I think maybe for next week's program, we'll probably try to have an expert with us, maybe somebody from Ministry of Education, because there's so much we can speak about.
Some from the traffic department.
Can always but in terms of, because as he spoke about the gate and the physical impact it can have on students as well, the carriage of the backpacks and everything else, and the balance of the weight is something that could be spoken about, because it does have implication for the spine and the gait of individuals. And that is something that sometimes very often parents may not be aware of, or in some places not really taught as to how people should carry the backpacks and so on. The styles and the types and everything, they do have the implication.
Especially with the age range of youngsters.
The age range
and the weight of the backpack, it could definitely have an impact on them in time to come.
Yes, and specific to his question about the better way to do pedestrian, not just the pedestrian cross, but as pedestrians just traversing the street from point to point. The best is you walk towards the traffic coming towards you, so you can see the oncoming traffic, and the driver of the vehicle should be able to see you as well. Or road situation, and this is why the Ashram Intyre Foundation would be advocating very strongly, and we want people to be able to come on board for us, to be able to speak, highlight, set up the signs and the information platform where people can learn these things, because the way you dress has something to do with traffic. The way you walk has something to do with traffic and safety as well. And so our roads and our sidewalks, they're not always conducive to us walking towards or facing the traffic. So what you find, the better portion of the road would be with your back against the traffic. And unfortunately, that was the situation where my son lost his life, because he was moving in the same direction with the traffic as well. And so while the driver's ability and everything else to be on the road, otherwise those are conditions that has to be assessed and so forth. But in terms of people using the street, the best way is to face the oncoming traffic.